Welcome back to my podcast, Fashion Canes. I am your host for this podcast. My name is Alicia. My co-host for this episode is Abby. Hey, Abby.
Hey there.
Okay, in my last podcast episode, I may have been a little harsh when I was talking about how guide dogs are not sometimes allowed into public places. I meant every word of what I said, but I'm afraid I may have came off a little harsh because I did mention that some people are allergic to dogs, and I said deal with it, okay? I was not talking about people that are allergic to dogs. Yes, I recognize that that's very real. There are people that are allergic to them. What I was talking about was when you have a restaurant and a person walks in with a guide dog and you say, oh, that dog has to stay outside. They can't come in. That's not okay because that dog has been trained to behave. They have been trained not to chew on things. They have been trained to guide a person. That is their job. And if someone has a cane or if someone uses echolocation, that's their choice. Today we are going to talk about things you should not do when someone has a guide dog. Abby, are you ready for this?
Ready?
Do you know what you should not do if you see a person with a guide dog? Yeah, obviously. This should be so common knowledge, but apparently it's not. Or maybe people just don't care. I hope you care. I truly hope you care. But it seems like it's not common knowledge, and it should be. If someone has a guide dog, please do not pet the dog. Even if that dog is not a guide dog, if that dog is any kind of service animal, I know that there are some dogs that help people with balance. I don't completely understand how that works. However, if you see a person with a dog, and if that dog is helping them with balance, or if someone has a dog for diabetes or any other kind of service dog, do not pet the dog. Abby, is there any way I can say this any plainer to make this so common sense?
I feel like you did.
You would think people would know. You would think. I hope people know. Do you know what else you shouldn't do when you see a person with a guide dog or a service animal?
There.
Don't stare at the dog. If you see a person with a guide dog or a service dog, do not stare at the dog. Don't look at the dog. You should pretend that the dog is not there. And please do not talk to the dog. If you pet the dog or look at the dog or talk to the dog, that dog will get distracted. And I'm not sure how it works for all service dogs, but I know for guide dogs, because I watch a lot of visually impaired YouTubers who have them, so I know. If you talk to the dog or pet the dog or look at the dog, that dog will get distracted. And if they get distracted too often, then they will lose their training. And if they lose their training, they will have to go into an early retirement. And no one that has a service dog wants their dog forced into an early retirement. They could lose their training if you pet them or talk to them or look at them. However, that dog could be distracted and have an accident, and that could cause an early retirement for that dog. So please take this seriously and don't pet the dog. Don't look at the dog. Don't talk to the dog. If you want to talk to the person about their dog, that's fine. But act like the dog is not there, please. Abby, is there anything else you want to add to this?
I don't think so.
You sure?
I'm sure. I think you covered it very well.
I hope people take this seriously because a lot of visually impaired people on YouTube talk a lot about this. They're like, don't look at the dog, don't talk to the dog, don't pet the dog, and yet they still have people doing it to their dog. And these are people who have guide dogs, not pets. Thank you for being on my podcast today.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I have so much fun.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching this podcast episode.